Eloa, or the Sister of the Angels, a Mystery. Canto the First. Birth. An angel was born on earth at the time when the Mediator was saving its inhabitants. Jesus had left the walls of Bethany with his little-known following, banished like himself. He fled at a slow pace across the countryside. Sometimes he stopped, praying and consoling. Seated beside a field which he took as a symbol, and he spoke the parable of the Samaritan, the lost ewe, and the bad shepherd, and the white sepulchre compared to a hypocrite. Following from there his peaceful way, he listened to the request of the Canaanite woman, and taught his ways to the maiden who had no guide, then laid his hands upon the children. The man born blind saw, unable to understand it. The leper and the deaf could be touched and heard. And everyone devoting tears to him as a farewell left the desert where God had been exiled. Son of God, and subject to earthly ills, he began all of them by the greatest, absence, abandoning his town and undergoing the edict to accomplish in full that which was foretold. Now during that time, his friends in Judea saw that their end was approaching which he had delayed. Lazarus, whom he loved and no longer visited, came to die, as his days were past. But is not the friendship of God life? He departed in the night. His procession was followed by the two young sisters of the deceased sick man, whither he had retired during his perils. Martha and Mary were they. Now Martha was the one who dispensed perfumes and ascribed blame to his zeal. All were grieving. In vain Jesus said, "He is sleeping." Seeing the shroud and the dead man, he himself wept. O holy tear given to friendship, you were not abandoned to the winds. A diamond urn, with seraphim leaning over it, invisible to mortals, received it softly, like a marvel astonishing even to the heavens, carried you sparkling to the feet of the Eternal. A favorable look from the ever-open eye touched the ineffable gift and caused it to shine. And the Holy Spirit, pouring forth his power upon her, gave soul and life to the divine essence, just as the incense which burns in the sun's rays changes into pure fire, a brilliant cherry red. So was a white and growing form seen to go up from the heart of the dazzling urn. A voice was heard which said, "Eloa," and the angel appeared and said, "Here am I." All adorned in the sight of the watching heavens, she marched towards God like a bride to the temple. Her beauteous brow, serene and pure like a beautiful lily, raised the folds of an azure veil. Her hair, parted as with blonde sprays, lost in the mists of the air their soft waves, just as a wandering comet is seen in the skies, blending its gracious rays in the bosom of the night. A rose in the glimmers of the morning dawn lacks the virginal blush of its fresh tint, and the moon, brightening the dense woods, fails to attain the sweetness of even one of its sweet looks. Her wings were of silver, under a pale robe. Her white foot by turns disclosed and hid itself, and her heaving breast, scarce perceived, raised the contours of the heavenly film. She was both a woman and a charming angel. For the spirit people, a loving family, near us, for us, prays and watches ever, uniting pure essences in holy acts of love. Raphael, the archangel, when he came to earth, under the cradle of Eden, retold this sweet mystery. But none of these sisters whom God created for them brought more joy to the heaven of the ever-happy. The burning cherubim enveloped by 6 wings, the tender seraphim, the gods of faithful loves, the throne, the virtues, the princes, the fiery ones, the rulers, the guardians, the splendors, and the pious dreams, and the holy praises, and all the pure angels, and all the great archangels, and all that heaven has of denizens, all simultaneously veiled by their golden wings, lowered their foreheads right to her snow-white feet. And her sisters the virgins joined in a procession, just as round the moon the evening fires are seen, held hands and ran to see her. Golden harps hung from the chaste girdles. And flowers which nature can only grow in heaven, flowers not seen of a human summer, abandoned neath their hands like a heavy rain. Then did unequaled voices sing, happy the world to which her helpful steps are offered. When she passes among the unhappy, a consoling spirit will spread over them. What globe awaits her steps? What age demands her? Will other heavens see birth that she may command them?
One day. How can we give the name of day to that which knows nor flight nor return? Defying the poverty of human tongues, eternity conceals itself from our intelligence. And for us to understand one of these brief instants, we must seek a name for them among the times. One day, the inhabitants of the immortal empire, who once were careless, united to counsel her. Eloa, they said, oh, be very careful. An angel can fall. The most beautiful of us all is here no longer. Yet in his initial virtue, he was called the light-bearer, for he carried love and life in every place. He carried God's orders to the stars. The earth consecrated his matchless beauty. By calling the morning star Lucifer, a radiant diamond which the sun had placed on his vermilion brow amidst his golden hair. Yet now, 'tis said, he is bereft of diadem. He groans, he is alone, none love him. Of time the blackness weighs upon his eyes, no longer does he know the tongue of heaven, and death resides in the words of his mouth. He burns what he sees, he withers what he touches, he senses not evil or good deeds. Joyless is he at the ills which he has done. Heaven, where once he lived, is troubled by his memory. No angel will dare tell you his story. No saint would dare ever to utter his name. They thought that Eloa would curse him, but no. Fear did not change at all her untroubled face. And this was an alarming omen for heaven. Not to tremble was her first impulse, but rather to draw near, as it were to help. Sadness appeared on her icy lip as soon as a sad thought offered itself. She learned to dream, and her innocent face fell blushing at this unknown trouble. A tear shone on her eyelid. Happy the heart whose first tear is thus shed. This angel had those troubles which pester oft our days, and pursue the great in their illustrious course. But amid the banquets, among the multitude, a man who sighs finds solitude. The noise of nations, the noise made by kings, nothing extinguishes in his heart a stronger voice. Harps of paradise, you had no wonders. Live chariots with shining eyes, the Lord's armor, the lodges of the holy place, the stars of the shepherds falling from the fingers of God, the sapphires of the censers, the gold of the heavenly dome, the delights of the harp and the spice boxes for cinnamon, your harmonious sounds, your splendors, your perfumes, became importunate to this saddened angel. The holy chants troubled her reverie, for nothing satisfied her softened heart. And even when God himself, spirit summoning, grandeur revealed to their astonished gaze, showing to heaven the very font of birth, the unnamed depths of this his triple power, even when the cherubim portrayed together either Christ's acts or those of the saints, and rehearsed to heaven every new mystery which simultaneously took place on earth, the crib offered to the sight of the foreign magi, the family in the desert, the obeisance of the shepherds. Eloa stepped back, from the divine spectacle, away from their crowd, far from the brilliant tabernacle. She sought out some obscure cloud where she might at least freely dream. The angels have nights, just as humans do. There is in heaven a pure spring, whose sparkling water runs there on cherry red sand. When an angel draws it, he sleeps, but with the sleep whose solitary charm the best loved of earthly lovers would not forego, even to see again sleeping next to him the beauty using his arm as a pillow. But in vain Eloa bathed in those waters. Her restless pain was too deep for them. Constantly at night she saw in a dream an unhappy angel who begged her from afar. Often the virgins, to grasp her pain, uttering a prayer tacit and vain, surrounded her with care, adding only suffering, asked what treasures they might offer her, what might be the price of her eternal life if heavenly joys failed her desire. Why sought her gaze no longer the countenance of an archangel or the seraphim? Eloa replied in a word, "None of them has need of him whom I console. He is said to be a—" But turning away, the virgins fled, and did not say his name. However, alone one day, their timid companion looked at the heavenly fields around her, extended her wing and smiled, took off, and in the air sought her friendly earth or some barren stars. So in the forests of Louisiana, cradled neath the bamboos and long vines, the hummingbird breaks his sun-ripened egg and leaves his flowery bed. A green emerald crowns his head, the purple of the wings on his back is already there. An azure breastplate adorns his young heart, and he departs to struggle victoriously with the breezes. In places connected to the light he flaunts his feathers which abhor the dust. This daring traveler visits the palm tree, surprising the pigeon under its wild cover. The perfumed plane is first to be abandoned. Ambitious, he flits from maple to ash and finds the desert for all his feasts in front of the palm tree or in the arms of the cypress. But the woods are too big for his nascent wings, and the flowers of the cradle of these places are not there. He looks for them on the green savanna. The bird-catching snakes, they can hide, scare him less than the dry forests. Near waters he pursues the jasmine of the Floridas, the capers hidden in their chaste prisons, the strawberries sweet-scented amid their lawns. Similarly did Eloa, strong from birth, testing the power of her silver wing, past the white road where undying fires burned at the feet of God like a mass of altars. Sometimes she poised on 2 young planets. Sometimes she placed her feet on the surface of comets in order to seek out beings born elsewhere. Then she arrived at the bottom of the lowest heavens. The ether has its divisions of enormous size, up to the perpetual shade where chaos begins. As soon as an angel flees the limitless blue, the cupola of sapphire is filled by the Trinity. He finds a less pure air. There clouds pass by, vapors twist, storms writhe. Like a nimble watchman, their profundity extinguish for us the warmth of divinely breathed air. But beyond our suns, and beneath the atmospheres, where in strict circle hang our swaying spheres, space is empty, sad, dark, and furrowed by a black whirlwind slowly dragged along. A pale, weak day fails to light up the mist. Beneath it is chaos, an incomprehensible night. A bottomless, impalpable void appears. The pure spirits, children of light, reach not unto the last of these 3 regions, and never would a beautiful seraph wander onto those confused divisions of which hell is last. Even the cherubim, so strong and dutiful, fear the impure air may fail beneath their wings, afraid they may be forced in this their risky flight to fall to the bottom of shadowy chaos. What would become of such a defenseless exile? The perpetual offense of demon laughter, their words, their mocking play, the slow, cruel affront, bring down his gaze and make him blush. Yet greater peril! Mayhap he needs must hear some smooth and tender farewell song, some celestial regret, a sad canticle sung sweetly by an unhappy angel. His ear being touched by the sound, he even might forget his heavenly home, finds satisfaction in this night, a liking for the songs and pity which joined them. Indeed, could he ever go back to the azure vault, presenting to the glaring golden light his tousled, tarnished locks, drab wings, arms, neck yellowish brown, a pale visage strangely streaked, amid the serene countenances of the dwellers of the clouds? What of the eyes whose redness betrays their having wept? What of the feet still black with pestiferous fire? This is why the angels of these places, ever prudent, ever wise, dread those paths. Even so, the virgin Eloa rested there, fearless neath the somber vapors. Unflustered was she when she saw her power and the novel good effects of her presence. Some punished worlds appeared, reprieved. The globes stopped to hear her fly. If perchance, too, in the new paths she touched one of them with the feathers of her wings, their discomforts momentarily ceased. Enemies embraced with surprise, daggers fell, with hate forgot. The smiling captive marched alone, chain-free. The criminal re-entered the law court, one fallen from grace sate in his monarch's palace. Restless insomnia abandoned its prey. Tears ceased throughout, apart from tears of joy. Split lovers joined again, anent their altars, a rare, surprising thing for mortal men. Canto the Second. The Seduction. Often, deep and solitary, a natural well opens up amid the mountains which overshadow the earth. Water, falling from heaven, gathers there, a dark mirror, where by day the evening stars may be seen. A village girl drops the fragile clay of her pot there into the water by a nimble rope. She idles there, and long contemplates the magic tableau of the shining stars, which seem to adorn the surface of the subterranean wave, with a headband held by a queen's hair. Likewise, the Virgin thought to see other skies. At the bottom of chaos, which her lovely eyes observed, her vision, dazzled by countless suns, saw first but shadow and abyss. But soon she saw there wandering blue fires. Like the wavering flashes of the cold marshes, they went, came back, then made escape again. Every star seemed to chase a meteor, and the angel, smiling at the strange vision, followed with her eyes their circular light flight. It soon appeared to her as if a pure harmony leapt out united from each flame to flame. Such is the plaintive impact and sound, vague yet clear, of crystal balls hanging in the current of air, so that the young Italian in her palace may sleep to the chimes of the Aeolian harp. This distant sound became a supernatural chant, which seemed to come near to the daughter of heaven. And these joined fires were like the dawn of unlooked-for day, ready to break forth. A balmy cloud with a pink glow mounted languidly in the inflamed air, then slowly formed its ambrosial bed, like the divans where sleeps soft Asia. There, a hazy, celestial form appeared, like a seated angel, young, sad, charming. Sometimes, a child of the foamy Clyde bounds across his misty mountain and chases a swift buck surprised by his pipe. From the glaciers of the Arvin to the haze of Krona, he spans the massy rocks, hurls himself into the chasms. To cross a torrent, he hangs on branches, sure-footedly descends and opens new paths. In virgin snow untouched by human foot, but soon Going astray amid the clouds, he seeks out the paths hidden by the storms. There, under a rainbow crowning the waters, if he sees the indistinct tartan of a wandering Scotswoman and hears her faint voice in the echoes, he stops entranced, believing that his eyes have glimpsed the sister of his ancestors, a yet amorous shade who will cause a misty harp to reverberate neath her transparent fingers. He looks then for the one whom Ossian named, and calls on Ivercoma, standing on his rock. The yet distant shape of the angel of the shades appeared no less beautiful, no less indistinct, and enchantments no less delightful filled the eyes of the heavenly Virgin. Like a sleeping swan which alone, far from the bank, surrenders its white wing to the fleeing wave, the unknown young man reclined softly on this vaporous bed which glided neath his arms. Purple was his robe, and opal tints, fiery or pale, entranced the attention. Black was his hair, tied with a headband, a crown, mayhap a burden. The gold therein was live like the mystic fires, twisting and burning on the ancient tripods. His wing was bent, and its weak color copied the pallor of the evening mist. Many diamonds sparkled gracefully on his delicate feet, clasped by a gold band. His arms and all his fingers, gently surrounded by mysterious rings, dazzled the eyes. He waved his hand, holding a golden scepter like a king reviewing his army from a mountain, and fearing lest his vows not be fulfilled, with an impatient gesture addresses all his steps. His mien is disturbed, but he lowers his gaze. Perhaps he knows the entrancing power of the eyes. So first he wishes only to show by degrees their rays caressing, but yet not assured, or perhaps he fears also the unintended flame which can, at a look, open up soul to soul. So in the forest the sweet morning breeze begins its sigh with an uncertain noise, which rouses the earth and makes the wave to quake, raising slowly his deep sweet voice, and assuming an accent sad as an adieu. Thus he spake to the daughter of God. Whence come thou, you beautiful archangel? Whither go? What path is taken by your silver wing through the air? Resting at the center of a sun, are you on your way to guide the burning hearth of its cherry-red circle, or disconcerting lovers with an ideal fear displayed to them by night the aurora borealis, or to distribute dew to the calyx of the flower, or bend over the mountains the seven-colored sash? Is it not your charge to watch over souls and speak at eventide to the heart of young wives, coming like a dream to bring a young son and place him in their arms with a kiss? Such are your sweet tasks, so I would believe, of your marvelous beauty and your glorious beams. Perhaps, though, you are a nation foe, whom my overpuissant rival instructed to hate me. Perhaps you are the one to offend my very self, by leading my pagans beneath baptismal waters, for constantly the enemy triumphantly opposes me, with the glance of a virgin, the voice of a child. Mayhap I am an exile that you sought. If so, beware the jealous God your Lord. For having loved, for having delivered, I am unhappy and reproved. Chaste beauty, come you to fight me or absolve? You have come from that heaven which sent down lightning to me. Yet so sweet to my eyes, I know not why you come from high against me, beautiful angel. Thus spake the Spirit, and his caressing voice persuasion prepared against an innocent soul. At these sweet gleams, the magical device of this sweet angel, like his brethren, heavenly Eloa, veiled by her wings, stepped back and mounted her starry road, as one sees a bathing girl who has spotted a young swimmer neath the water flee to the reeds. But in vain did her 2 feet run from the cloud. just as the dove in 2 days of flight can distance herself from Aleppo, from the white tower whence the Sultan sends a love letter. From his flashing look her force was broken, and when he saw her mastered wing was bent, the seductive foe continued quite low. I am he who is loved and is not known. On man I have founded my fiery empire, in the desires of the heart and the dreams of the soul, in the ties of the body's mysterious attractions, in the treasures of the blood, in the looks of the eyes. I am he who makes the wife speak in her dreams. The happy young girl learns happy lies. I give her nights which console her days. I am the secret king of secret loves. I unite hearts, break strong chains, as the butterfly on its dusty wings brings to the bursting lawns a parade of flowers, making love to them without perils and tears. I have taken from the Creator his weak creature. In his despite we have carved up nature. I let him, proud of the noise of cherry red day, hide the golden stars neath the silver of a sun. But I am the silent shadow, giving the earth the joys of eventide and the good things of the mystery. Have you come with several angels of heaven to admire the delicious course of my nights? Have you seen their treasures? Do you know what marvels attend to the evenings of the dark angels? As soon as the reddening sun hanging under the pale horizon leaves the lawn, we countless spirits fly in the shadows, shaking our somber locks in the air. Then does the fragrant dew till morn rain on the orange trees, the lilacs, and the thyme. Nature, obedient to the laws of my empire, welcomes me with love, hears me, breathes me in. I become again her soul, and for my sweet intents call out my subjects from the depth of elements. Each one a familiar of my nightly feast sings as he gets ready to attend. The eloquent nightingale is first to soar aloft, to starry welkin in the pride of flight. His sonorous voice sings out to wave, to earth, to cloud, the place of my dear hour. He vaunts my arrival to the pale service trees, repeats it to the dewy rose bushes. This harmonious herald everywhere proclaims me. All the birds of the shadows open their flaming eyes. The worm shines his diamond countenance, throws back to the flowers the fires of firmament, and vies for brightness with the meteor, which breaks forth over the waters like aurora pale. The Mars star, detached by my hand, falling, traces a luminous path in air. If, virgin, you cast off mother's strings, disdain remorse, give up your sad illusion, these natural brands will light up neath your feet. Their clear fire will guide and not deceive you. If your lip feels thirst and nears the shore, to seek a deep shell for a drinking cup, the water will sigh and boil, and before your naked feet cast forth Venus's shell upon the sandy beach, spirits will let you see things wonderful in groves filled with rosy scent. You see on the grass where their hand leads you flowers whose beauty blossoms only at night. For them the dawn of day is cruel, as it will be to you. For like you, their modest breast has its loves. There follows silence. Everything sleeps deeply. The shade hearkens to a mystery, meditating. The winds, the nearby meadows, bring ambrosia to the sylvan bed the lover has chosen. Soon 2 young voices murmur endearments, which enliven the repose of cups as mute. At the bottom of the leafy elm whose shade greets them, the aroused bird sings and rustles the leaves. A voluptuous hymn thrills the air. The trees have their songs, the bushes their concerts. and on the edge of water, sighing, flowing by, the dove of night warbles languidly. Here for your inspection are the evildoer's works. This accused rogue, in truth, is a consoler. He bewails the slave and takes him from his lord, saves him lovingly from the sorrows of his state, and buried himself in the common ill, grants him a little charm, and oft nepenthe. Thrice, amid these words, the newborn angel's budding cheek was colored red, and 3 times, combating his impure gaze, a golden eyelid veiled her azure eyes. Canto the 3rd. The Fall. Whence come you, shame, O noble dread, O Sphinx, whose birth the earth beheld when but a child? O flower of first days, which sprouts among us, rose of paradise, shame, whence come you? Only you can replace innocence. For Eden's forbidden tree gave you birth. Your charm doth equal virtue's charms, and yet you are as well to evil the first step. Her bosom is adorned with a chaste veil, but ere the serpent Eve had no such thing. And though a pure veil enhance your dress, it is still a veil, and the guilt is yours. Everything bothers you, a glance offends your eyelid, but the child fears nothing and seeks the light. 'Neath this new power the virgin was bending. Indeed, she was already fallen, for she blushed. Already half submitted to the somber spirit's yoke, she goes down, comes up, and goes down again in the shade. Just so you see the partridge flutter and glide on some broken ears of wheat which you would glean, for her entire nest awaits in her risky flight. She cannot escape the observation of the one watching her. The hunting dog, that somber observer, follows her, ever follows her with fixed and brilliant gaze. Oh, the ineffable delight of moments of love! Heart responds to heart like air to the lyre. Just as a young lover, adored teacher, expounds the desire inspired by himself, and helping his beloved against shame, dragging off her charmed weakness in his arms, all drunk with hope, more than half a victor, declares the vows which she makes in her heart. The Prince of Spirits, in a suffocated voice, expounded the thought of the timid virgin. Eloa, without speaking, said, "I am yours." And the angel of the shadow said aloud, "Be mine. Be mine, be my sister, for I myself belong to you. I have deserved you and loved you for a long time, for one day I saw you. Through the threads of the air I mingled, veiled like a winter sun. I saw once more the ineffable region of the luminous peoples of the azure fatherland. Felt no regret at having left these sights where fear always abides among the gods. You alone appeared to me like a young star, which well away from the vast night pierces the veil. You alone appear to me as what people ever seek, that which man pursues in the shadow of his days. The God who alone knows the mystery of happiness, and the Queen whom my lonely throne awaits. Finally, through your presence so able to charm me, it was revealed to me that I could love. Either your eyes, veiled by a shadow of sadness, had sensed mine which sought them unceasingly, or your origin, as sweet as yourself, had made a country for you a little closer to me. I do not know. But from the hour I saw you born, I thought I recognized you in each created thing. 3 times I passed, weeping through the universe. I sought you everywhere, in a whisper of the air, in a ray fallen from the disk of the moon, in a star fleeing importunate heaven, in the rainbow, the path familiar to the angels, or on the mellow bed of the glacier snows I breathed in the trace of the perfumes of your flight. In vain I questioned the globes of space. I obscured the axle trees of the chariot of the stars. I veiled their rays to draw your eyes. Emboldened by my new delight, I even dared to touch the golden strings of the heavenly lyre. but you heard nothing. You did not see me. I returned to earth and slid my steps under the shade of man where you found birth. I thought I might find you protecting innocence at the swinging cradle of a sleeping babe, refreshing her lip with a friendly whisper, or else using your wing like a curtain and as a timid centennial guarding against me the slumber of a virgin by the side of her sister, who dreaming on her bosom presses her gently. But I returned alone to my beautiful house. I wept there like here, I moaned there, until the hour that your flight moved me, made me tremble, like a priest who feels that his God is about to speak. He spoke, and soon, like a young queen who blushes with pleasure at the name sovereign, and makes a gracious gesture to her subjects, or responds to their rapture with a glance of her eyes, Eloa, raising the veil from her head, got ready to speak to him with a sweet smile, went down closer to him, bent over, and gently contemplated with pride her immortal lover. Her beautiful bosom, like a wave dissolving on the shore, for the first time rose and sighed. Her arm, like a white lily floating on a lake, stretched out, fearlessly approached. Her perfumed mouth as it parted seemed to burst open like a new rose at the behest of dawn, when morning spills on her a fresh liquor, and the gleam of the day enters her heart. She spoke, and her voice mellifluously assembled, all that the sweetest sounds might blend together, a lyre harmonizing with flutes in the woods, a bird's plaintive cry for the very first time, the sea as its waves reach up to the shore, evening chants at the steps of a dreaming traveler, the wind playing with